It's the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion. This is for Friday, the 16th of August. I'm Michael Groff. Monsoon activity will be fairly limited over the next several days, with shower and thunderstorm activity confined mainly to the higher terrain of eastern and southeast Arizona. However, there will be a couple of opportunities for some storms to perhaps get into the lower deserts, including Phoenix. Meanwhile, temperatures will remain at or above seasonal averages for at least the next 7 days and probably well beyond that. All right, we'll get into all of it in just a moment, but before we do, it is Friday, and that means it's Photo Friday here. That's where we take a look at some of the photos and or videos that you guys have submitted. And first up, David Parnell, some pictures from up around 51st Avenue and Northern. I believe these were actually taken last December. And so David wanted me to see those. Then we've got some pictures. These are courtesy of Billy. And these are coming up from Oregon, where he's fighting some wildfires up there. And this has just been another brutal summer up in the Pacific Northwest across much of Northern California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana. There's just been wildfires aplenty. And look at that. So it has been a rough summer. Of course, we're only in August, and the dry season up there continues into September before they start to see some more appreciable rain. Now, they will see some cooler temperatures over the next several days, and that should help, but unfortunately, relief in the form of precipitation will be somewhat limited. Then we have some pictures courtesy of Buck up in Helena, Montana. Speaking of the wildfires, now some storms developing up there too. They have had at least a little bit of rain here and there, but he also has captured some of the wildfire smoke that has come from some of the distant fires as well. And then we've got some pictures from, this is sort of the other side of the spectrum here. We've got some pictures from Owen in Page, where they had a storm the other day that dropped about 1.5 inches or a little over 1.5 inches of rain in about 30 minutes or so. Plenty of flooding up there in Page. Now, you don't want to see this, but on the other side, hey, at least some parts of the state are seeing some rain because it has just been bone dry this monsoon, at least in some areas. And then some pictures from Matt. These are coming to us from Grand Junction, Colorado. Beautiful weather up there. They've had more monsoon activity certainly than we have, and things are looking really nice. We appreciate these pictures, and of course, all of you guys for your photos. And of course, last but certainly not least, let's roll this. Ryan Seek. Yeah, he was down capturing some thunderstorms that developed several days ago down there in his neck of the woods down in Pinal County. And look at this storm developing. He said he was quite busy with all the thunderstorm activity that was down there because even though, again, the monsoon has been relatively quiet, there have been these pockets of storms that have popped up on any given day. They've just generally been relatively isolated. But of course, as you well know, if there are storms to be found across Arizona, Ryan Seek will find them and he'll capture these. He'll do these time lapse that he always does. And we appreciate that too. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for all of your contributions. We couldn't do it without you. Photo Friday. And if you want to get your photos or videos in here, groffshow@gmail.com. That's the email address. That is groffshow@gmail.com for Photo Friday. Keep those rolling in here. Really, really do appreciate that. All right, getting back to it here. The almanac from yesterday. 111 degrees was the afternoon high. Just another day over 110. 90 the morning low. 105 and 84 the averages for this time of year. And as we take a look outside right now, it's 6:05 a.m. We've got a few clouds around right now. We're sitting at 93 degrees at Sky Harbor. The dew point down a bit as the drier air is starting to work in. 54 is that dew point. Relative humidity 26%. The wind light, the barometer rising. Upper level weather pattern across the nation right now. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you see Ernesto continuing to move northward. That will be impacting Bermuda. Other than that, maybe a threat to the Canadian Maritimes, but for the most part, that should stay well east of the United States. Around here, yeah, that's not a monsoon setup. The ridge has been pushed down to the south, more of a west-southwesterly flow in place. There is a complex of thunderstorms that right there over northwest Mexico and butting up against the international border of our state. That may trigger a little bit of a moisture surge in here, but generally speaking, the monsoon is going to stay away from us in that kind of a configuration, at least for a while. We have troughing to the north and west, and the ridge is pushed down to the south. But, of course, the ridge is still the dominant feature, so temperatures will remain on the hot side. The watch warning map, we've got heat advisories and excessive heat warnings from North Texas through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, parts of Tennessee, and Alabama as the heat rolls on down there. Elsewhere, you've got red flag warnings and high fire danger in spots scattered throughout the west, across the Great Basin, the Intermountain West, and, of course, over the parts of eastern Montana. Again, the wildfires continue up there. That's air quality alerts. We've got air quality alerts also in the Red River Valley of North Dakota. So again, wildfire smoke, just a big problem. And we could really use a good soaking rain. That we really would love to see the monsoon get more active, and that's just not going to happen all that much over the next several days. Convective outlook for today, we do have a risk of severe storms, the standard slight risk, parts of Kansas and some of the adjacent states. The broader severe weather risk extends from parts of South Dakota all the way eastward into the western and central Great Lakes states. In Arizona, again, the southern and eastern portions of the state in the green. There could be a few thunderstorms around, but I think for the most part, they will stay over the higher terrain of eastern and southeast Arizona and along the international border. There might be a stray storm elsewhere, but for the most part, things will be rather quiet. The tropics, relatively quiet other than Hurricane Ernesto. It's a Category 2 storm, top winds 100 miles per hour. This will be a threat to Bermuda, of course, where hurricane warnings are in effect. But other than that, maybe parts of eastern Canada could feel the effects of this. But even at that, it looks like for the most part, this is going to go out into the North Atlantic and will become post-tropical in coming days. The precipitation outlook, this is valid through Friday morning of next week. Rain amounts in Phoenix, not much, if anything. Statewide, generally at or under 1/2 inch. Of course, any one spot can see more than that, as we have noted many times. Hey, you get under one of these really intense, slow-moving thunderstorms in the monsoon, they can put down an inch or two in a very short amount of time. But this represents kind of an average of what we'll see across the area. And this doesn't bode well for the drought conditions, and this isn't really going to be a really generous rainfall that we could really use, not only here in the valley, but across much of the state. But we'll see what's going on with this weather pattern in more detail if things are going to change as we dive into the models right now, see what the future may hold. Here we go. This is the GFS. It is the 06Z run, and it's valid at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Got a trough that's moving into the Great Lakes states. Got Ernesto off the east coast. You got a trough off the Pacific Northwest. Our ridge is pushed down to the south. And so the flow aloft here is west-southwesterly, and that's not a monsoon flow, folks. That is a drier flow of air for us. And so what it means for the rest of the day down at the surface, how about sunny and hot? Highs right around 110 once again here in Phoenix. A couple of degrees either side of 110. Hottest desert spots, southeast California, southwest Arizona, could be up around 112, 113 or so. And any storm activity, once again, confined to eastern and southeast Arizona, and even at that, generally just isolated in nature. For tonight, partly cloudy in the evening, otherwise will be mostly clear with lows generally in the 80s to about 90. Now, tomorrow, there are signs that we'll see a little bit more moisture coming into the state, especially across eastern Arizona for widely scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. And some of our guidance is even suggesting that a few storms could rumble their way into the south central deserts, including Phoenix. So in a nod to that, given that some of our high resolution guidance is favoring this too, we will put a slight chance of a shower or storm into our forecast for tomorrow evening. Again, I think any storms would be isolated in nature. We're not going to see a big widespread storm event, but gusty winds, blowing dust, and maybe a little bit of rain with the strongest storms possible. So be aware of that for tomorrow, late tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. But most of the storm activity should remain confined again to northern and eastern Arizona, but at least we'll have an increase in coverage for tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's still going to be hot though. Highs again right around 110. Let's go to Sunday. Widely scattered afternoon and evening showers and storms. Northern Arizona along the southern border of our state, the southeastern portions. I don't think we're going to see anything here in Phoenix. Partly sunny in the morning, mostly sunny in the afternoon. High temperatures once again topping out around 108 to 112. Really, things don't change much on Monday. The one thing we're going to start to see is we still have troughing that's sitting off to the north and west. That's going to just be a feature that's out there for a while. The ridge is going to take a slightly different position, a slightly different orientation, a bit more of a northwest to southeast orientation. We're going to see that for the first half of next week. And this has been a bit of a departure from some of our previous model runs, but now our ensemble guidance is starting to key in on this idea. And if that happens, the flow aloft, instead of being more southerly or southwesterly as we've been seeing, is going to turn more southeasterly, and that should favor at least some moisture coming into the area. Unfortunately, this ridge is still fairly strong, and the warm air aloft is going to preclude widespread storm formation. Nevertheless, I think we'll start to see a few more showers and storms around across northern and eastern Arizona, and a few storms trying to get into the south central deserts for the first half of next week. Maybe not so much on Monday, and high temperatures will still be at or above 110, but perhaps a few more storms creeping around on Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening, enough so that we will introduce at least a slight chance of showers and storms around here. And again, it's not like we're going to see widespread thunderstorm coverage across the state. At best, your best bet for storms will still remain over the eastern rim, the White Mountains, the southeastern portion of the state, and elsewhere some isolated storms. But where they do form, of course, gusty winds, blowing dust over the deserts, and some brief but locally heavy rain. All right, so that will continue. Temperatures will continue to trend above average, somewhere probably in the 105 to 109, maybe 110 range for most of next week. Same story on Thursday. And again, the GFS on Thursday shows a slight increase in the number of showers and storms again. We'll have to see if that comes to fruition. Troughing becomes a fairly deep low, actually, developing along the Pacific Northwest coast, becoming anomalously strong for this time of year. And we're going to watch that feature with great interest, actually, because let me show you what happens. This is a week from today, Friday the 23rd. And we have talked about this ad nauseum for days, right? The GFS continues to develop tropical cyclones down there over the eastern Pacific. And now the GFS is really deepening this upper low off the Pacific Northwest coast around a couple of standard deviations below average heights off of the Northern California and Oregon coast. Meanwhile, to the east of us, this ridge sits. Now, as it's advertised on this run, the general orientation of the ridge is now more southwest to northeasterly as opposed to northwest to southeast. So the flow aloft is drier, more of a southwest flow. But the ridge is still the dominant feature, so we remain hot. At the same time, over the Gulf of Mexico, we've got some sort of a little upper low, little easterly wave kind of coming on in. And so we're going to watch how that squeezes this subtropical ridge a little bit more. And the GFS has these a little tropical cyclone down there over the eastern Pacific. So some moisture may get trained into this upper low and pulled northeastward toward the southwest United States. Could that happen? Yes. Is that a likely scenario right now? No. It's a scenario. It's a low chance scenario, but it's one, of course, we'll watch. Let's go out 10 days. This is Sunday, the 25th. And again, the low now starts to weaken. The ridge still remains in place, but now it's shifted to the west, a 594 ridge, and that easterly wave sits over Texas, moving up the Big Bend and into New Mexico. And how that evolves would be very interesting as well. But I want to stress, look, we're out here at 10 days now. This is into the realm of fantasy. So anything is possible. Any scenario is on the table out here at 10 days. I would say that the idea of a persistence forecast is very, very logical given how this summer has gone. Do I believe that we're going to see this massive easterly wave coming on in here eventually, or any sort of tropical moisture intrusion? Probably not, because we just haven't seen that this summer, and that's just been, the old adage, never bet against a streak. And the way this summer has gone, I don't know if I'm ready to buy into that. I would say a persistence, conservative forecast is the way to go. And that would mean temperatures remaining above climatological average, precipitation chances on most days remaining below climatological norms. Let's look at some of the ensemble guidance here. This is the rainfall for Phoenix. This goes all the way out through the 30th of August. This is off the GFS ensemble. The mean is pretty close to 2/3 of an inch. A couple of individual members are pretty excessive on this, but, and again, they favor a surge of tropical moisture intrusion in here from some sort of tropical cyclone. Not saying that's impossible. We all know that it has happened before. It's always a consideration here during the monsoon season. Even after the monsoon season, we can see that into October. But I would say that's a very, very low chance scenario right now. The European ensemble remains in that more realistic zone, unfortunately, with the ensemble mean barely poking up above 1/10 of an inch. Temperatures off the national blend of models. And again, for the most part, for the next 10 days, it's a persistence forecast at or above average. I mean, the normal high, 105. We're going to be above that every single day if we take that at face value. And this will also mean that we will close out the month of August with every single day being above 100 degrees. Now, that in and of itself is not the most unusual thing that's ever happened, except for the fact that that also happened in July and June, which means the entirety of meteorological summer will have had high temperatures at or above 100 degrees. That has never happened in recorded history here in Phoenix, going back 128 years. And again, we do typically have days where highs don't make it to 100. We have those cloudy, muggy days where we get some showers around and it stays just kind of soupy out there. We usually get a couple or a few of those days during the summer. Even last year in the monsoon, the driest monsoon on record, we had a couple of those days in August. And it sure, right now, things can change. Sure doesn't look like we're going to get one of those. So we're going to just keep tacking on to this consecutive streak of days with high temperatures at or above 100 degrees. And that probably will be at least 90 days before all is said and done. All right, that's it for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video is due back here on Monday morning, but of course, updates before that if necessary. And should you happen to enjoy these videos, and of course you do, be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell, leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. If you really like what we do here, you want to support us monetarily, click that thanks icon below the video here on YouTube or make those monetary contributions via PayPal. Yeah, groffshow@gmail.com is the PayPal address. It's groffshow@gmail.com for PayPal. The executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion is my one and only, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation and proprietor of this right here, sweetchildaz.com.org, and the Facebook page of the same name is called Sweet Child Arizona. Yes, I'm talking about my Michelle. Check her out. Check out everything Michelle related linked up down in the description. Yes, you want to give that a look. And the other thing you want to do while checking all that out, checking out Michelle's stuff, is check out our streaming station. It's available 24/7, 365 for your listening pleasure. It is called KMGX. We play a ton of music, have a lot of fun with that. It is the most chaotic mix of music you'll ever hear, but chaotic, eclectic, however you want to view it, it's all there. Everything. I mean, everything. There's just, I don't know what else to tell you about it, but just give it a listen. That's the best way to describe it. Just check it out. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of your continued support, it is so greatly appreciated. Please, please be safe, stay cool, stay hydrated out there. You guys have yourselves a great Friday and a wonderful weekend.